Hi, good morning all. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Rajshri for having me over on this talk, this very important talk of biofuel in India and India's transition towards green energy and alternate fuels. See, there are a lot of aspects in this sector that the manufacturer has to deal with. As a manufacturer, we are one of the leading grain-based ethanol manufacturers in the country, with two plants in Punjab and one in West Bengal. And we envisioned that this transition would take place in 2010 when we set up our first alcohol distillery, and it took a while for the policy to be launched by the government. And in 2018, India started its ethanol blending program. Since then, a lot has been eased in terms of manufacturing, but there's still a lot that needs to be done from the government point of view in motivating the industry to expand capacities and help the nation meet its blending targets. The biggest issue that we face as a manufacturer in the ethanol industry is the intervention of state excise. As some of you might be aware, alcohol is a state subject, which is under the purview of the state excise. Now, state excise claims that whenever the word distillation is in place, that they have the full right over the manufacturing capability. Now, there has always been a tussle between the center and the state whether ethanol falls under that or not, because you have distillation involved when you want to manufacture ethanol. So every state has a different rule in terms of setting up an ethanol plant because of this, in terms of transporting the ethanol in and out of the state, and in terms of the oversight that's placed on the manufacturer on a day-to-day basis. One, that is the biggest issue. Second is, now that we are facing, is that India needs to transition from a rice-based ethanol manufacturer to a maize-based ethanol manufacturer. And for that, India needs to motivate its farmers to grow more maize, as that is the future of the ethanol industry, which is not happening on a ground level as we speak. As we can tell, as we know that this year, the farmers didn't get a remunerative price for their maize crop, as there was a global surplus supply of maize. This demotivates the farmer to grow more maize for the year coming ahead. So as a country, we need to think towards crop diversification as a very serious matter. And we need to ensure that whenever a farmer grows maize or any crop that can be used by the industry, that they get a remunerative price for it in the same year. Only then would the farmer be motivated to grow the same crop next year. Otherwise, they look for alternatives to the crop. Thirdly, the government has worked a lot towards taking this, separating the ethanol business from the alcohol business in terms of the environmental clearance. This has really helped the industry, as now the public hearing is no longer required if a person needs to set up an ethanol plant. So as an ethanol manufacturer, these are the basic problems or hassles that are faced, besides a shortage of talent in the industry, as this is a booming industry as of now, and there's a lot of competition and not enough talent who have the know-how on how to operate such a facility. So these are some of the problems that the industry is facing. But overall, I would like to say that I was supposed to highlight on the problems, but there are many positives which will help the country meet the targets. The automotive sector is getting ready on a very fast pace for an increased blending. The government has helped the industry with the interest subvention scheme that we believe has been a very big boost for the country. And Indian entrepreneurs are very resilient. Whenever there's an opportunity, Indian entrepreneurs, they do everything possible to explore the opportunity and take full advantage of it. So overall, I'm very bullish on the ethanol industry and India's ethanol blending program as a whole. We believe that electric vehicles are not the only solution for a greener future, and biofuels will also play a huge role in it. As you can see, battery itself is very polluting, and we don't see how India will be able to meet the energy targets if everything were to go EV. We believe that the future of two-wheeler and three-wheeler belongs to the EV, but the four-wheeler belongs to biofuel. And companies like Toyota, Maruti, Citroen are doing a great job in this. Brazil, currently, 98% of the vehicles in Brazil only run on ethanol. And to achieve these targets, they've only occupied 2% of the country's irrigatable land to grow sugar for ethanol production. So we believe that India can rightly look at Brazil as a very good example on how to move towards ethanol as an energy source for our vehicles, our passenger vehicles, and from there on, help meet the Indian targets for the Paris Accord as well. So I had this short brief to give everyone, and if there are any questions, I would be more than happy to answer on an industry perspective.
Dear participants, if you have any questions, kindly put them in the chat box, or you can also unmute yourselves and put forth your suggestions, viewpoints, or in fact questions as well. Sir, I have one question. In the meanwhile, I would like to have your take on that. For example, you talked about biofuels, particularly ethanol blending from different sources. What is your take on, like these days, government is pushing the hydrogen economy. So how are we going to see the hydrogen-driven vehicles, hydrogen fuel cell-driven vehicles coming into the Indian market? What can be the roadmap for it?
See, hydrogen is also a part of the future, but I think it's very early, mainly because firstly, the engines have not reached the maturity stage. I think they're very initial. They've reached a very initial stage in terms of the car manufacturers. And also, hydrogen is extremely expensive to transport from one place to another. And it is very dangerous as well to transport because of its explosive nature. There are a lot of companies, mostly in Europe, that are working towards a solution for transportation of hydrogen from one place to another. I think once we have a better solution on how to transport hydrogen cheaply and safely, only then will that be a solution or an alternate to the sector. Until then, I don't personally think that hydrogen is the present. I think it is the future, whereas biofuels are the present and the future.
Thank you, sir. Sir, we have another question in the chat box from Mr. Kulvendra Patel, who is saying that he is a research scholar and working on LC of biofuels. He's saying that getting data from industries is very difficult. So how can he get LCA data for the environmental footprint assessment? He is talking on that as
well. See, the data from an industry, I think no one in the industry wants to disclose their full operations because it's a relatively new industry and everyone has their own way of doing it. So I think it's quite normal for an industry to not disclose everything. But I think a good start would be, as an industry, we're all required to upload our ECs online. Maybe from there you can get a idea.
Sir, another question in the chat box. It is from Ms. Jaideepa Taran. She asks that what is your opinion on the market economics and prospects of hybrid vehicles?
See, I think hybrid vehicles are a very, very, very.
Ethanol-based one.
I think hybrid vehicles personally are a very good alternate as well, because the fuel economy on a hybrid vehicle is very good, and the person does not need to stop somewhere for 2-3 hours to recharge the car, and in a price sensitive market like India, where the person looks at the mileage of the car as one of the first things. I think before safety rating now, safety ratings and mileage of the car are the two main things that a consumer looks at when purchasing a car. For that, hybrid is a very, very good solution. I personally drive a hybrid car as well locally, and the mileage it gives is impeccable, and the smooth running of the engine and the low maintenance costs as well. So I think hybrid is a very, very good solution.
Thank you, sir. Sir, another question is there from Ms. Hema Jha in the chat box. She wants your opinion on the performance efficiency of biofuels as compared to EVs. And she's continuing that question by saying that can biofuel be made robust with consistent supply and quality?
See, quality standards of ethanol are standardized globally. So ethanol being manufactured in India or ethanol being manufactured in the United States or Brazil or China, all have the same specification. So in terms of quality, I think globally the standards have been set, and our country are meeting the standards. And ethanol to EV, like comparing an orange to an apple, I don't think there's a direct comparison. And especially we don't, right now we don't know the longevity of an electric vehicle because it's a new market. Most electronic vehicles on road in India are at 2-3 years old by maximum. And in Indian consumer market, a person, when they buy a car, they at least run it for 10 years before selling it. Unlike the West, where a person keeps a car for 3-4 years and then sells it and buys a new car. So in terms of that, it's hard to comment on it this early. But ethanol is a matured industry. Maybe not in India, but in countries like Brazil, it is a very matured industry. 98% vehicles in Brazil are only running on ethanol, passenger vehicles. So whether it's your Porsches, whether it's your Mercedes, whether it's your Hondas, whether it's your Toyota, they all have the technology for a flex fuel engine. And to manufacture a car that will only run on ethanol, providing these engines in Brazil. And once, the Indian production for ethanol grows, the same can be done in India. These automakers, they're waiting for the production to grow. They're waiting for the production to be standardized across the nation. Currently, another problem the industry faces is that, for example, Punjab is a surplus state when it comes to production of ethanol. So Punjab produces more ethanol than consumes and exports this to other states. Before we came into Bengal was not able to meet their blending targets that were set by the government because there was no production there. And after our unit was commissioned, Bengal is now able to meet its production targets. So first, as an industry, we have to ensure that we have consistent supply of ethanol throughout the nation. And only then will the automakers get the confidence, bring in the flex fuel engines in India, bring in the E20 technology in India. So I think the next 5 years will see a huge transition.
Thank you, sir. So continuing on this particular question, in your plant, you are making ethanol from maize or rice grains?
Both.
So, sir, for example, we see that based on the different feedstocks, the ethanol quality often changes. So, how do you take care at a commercial scale in your plant?
Ethanol quality does not change as per the feedstock. It is consistent. The only thing is that based on the feedstock, the recovery of ethanol changes. For example, rice has the highest quantity of starch. So for a kg of rice, I can get more ethanol as opposed to ethanol per kg of maize.
And
the quality is consistent.
Okay, and since these feedstocks, they must be the waste food grains. They are not the edible ones, right? Or
but no, they're both. Currently, the government of India has a policy where we can procure rice from FCI and convert it into ethanol and sell it to the OMC.
Okay. And so then how about like government is also pushing the lignocellulosic residues to use them for ethanol conversion? So in terms of industrial application, what are the challenges that you find if I shift towards the this rice straw or bagasse, these kind of
No,
or other?
rice straw and bagasse is 2G ethanol, and that is not for the private industry to enter, because the per production cost per liter is extremely high when producing ethanol from rice straw. See, for a 100 KLPD plant, uh, a normal 1G ethanol plant, the capex involved would be around 110 to 120 crores. Whereas for the same plant to manufacture, same capacity plant to manufacture from rice straw, the capex would be around 1,000 crores. And also the per liter cost of production would be almost double than of producing ethanol from rice. So the private industry cannot afford to enter the industry, as you know, will be uncompetitive when it comes to the pricing. So only IUCL has done a couple of projects along with Praj, but also it's a very, very new technology, and we're yet to see how this works out on an industrial level. We do not know. Personally, I feel that rice straw as a boiler fuel for the production of electricity is a much better alternate to solve the rice straw problem in India. For example, our Punjab unit, we've recently installed 2 boilers that will use rice straw as a fuel to manufacture about 20 megawatts of electricity. Both these boilers will consume about 1 lakh metric tons of rice straw a year. So, we started this boiler recently, but I started procuring rice straw last year. I'm very happy to say that 16 villages surrounding our factory, there was not a single case of stubble burning. And we believe that this is a very good alternate to 2G ethanol, as 2G ethanol is now viable for the private industry. And this producing power out of rice straw is a new technology as well. And it's a technology that the industry can implement because it saves cost for us. And we believe that, if a few more of such boilers are established across Punjab and Haryana, then the stubble burning problem will be stopped in the next 2-3 years, which we foresee. I'm very confident in saying that in the next 2-3 years, there won't be stubble burning problem in Punjab and Haryana, because industry will install these power plants, as this is a very good technology, cheap fuel. And the only hard part is that I have about 15 days to procure about 1 lakh metric tons of fuel, because during the harvest period, either the farmer will burn the stubble or I'll buy it from him. And then I need to store it for the entire year. So about for 1 lakh metric ton, I need about 100 acres of land to store this fuel, which we have done so in 2 of our units. And I believe more industry players will also do the same in the coming time. And this will help solve the stubble burning problem, and not the 2G ethanol, in my opinion.
Thank you, sir. Sir, we have a couple of other questions in the chat box. Mr. Vara Prasad asks that, do we have any sustainability framework to assess the performance of ethanol industry sector specific to Indian context?
Yes, so that framework is set by the MOEF and is monitored by the state pollution boards, and there's strict compliance by the industry to these norms.
Okay, thank you, sir. There is another question which asks that, what is the scope of introducing the concept of circular economy or waste valorization by using the residues generated from ethanol plant?
See, an ethanol plant is a zero effluent plant as per the Indian standards. There are no waste generated as we speak, because the waste that was initially generated by the industry is now used to make animal feed, which has in turn become a very important byproduct for us. All the lease water and the blowdown from the cooling tower is treated and taken back into the process. So, it's the technology currently being used by the industry is very green, and it has a complete circular motion.
Okay, sir. So, okay, yeah, someone is online. Please ask it.
Hello. Okay. So, sir, I have one question. Like, the effluent generated from the this ethanol plants, so they have a COD around that is under the discharge values, But do you use that, like before treating that effluent, do you use that effluent for your internal applications in some way?
See, only after the water is treated and the COD and the BOD ranges are below what is permissible by the pollution board is the water used for internal plantation. So for an ethanol plant, 33% of the land has to go towards internal plantation, and the treated water could be used towards that.
Okay, so for treating this wastewater, do you use any technology for anaerobic digestion for methane generation, because that can again be used in some way as a fuel?
See, we have started an experiment that we'll use that for cooking gas for our canteen inside our factory. I think it'll take another 3-4 months for it to be set up.
Thank you, sir. So we have a couple of other questions coming up. Can I ask them to you if you have some couple of minutes?
Yes, no worries. I can be with you for the next 5-10 minutes.
Okay. Yes, sir. So the next question is from Aswari Dotiwal. He asked that IOCL has done projects of 2G with Raj and 3G with L&T. I think he is saying this as a comment. And
yes.
The next question is from Mr. Vishwajit Samal. He asked that, is there any subsidy on ethanol plant in India?
See, there was a scheme launched by the Indian government where if you were to take a loan to set up an ethanol plant, half of the interest cost would be borne by the NABARD. The scheme is now closed, and the projects that were approved are the only projects that are approved. Besides that, there is no subsidy that I'm aware of.
Okay, sir. And so next question is again from Himaja. She asked that, as you mentioned, biofuels will be a part of overall portfolio of energy available for transport. Could you please bifurcate the share of bioethanol, biohydrogen, and bio-CNG or such other fuels? In which side should these markets emerge or shift towards?
See, I wouldn't be able to have exact numbers for you on this, so I don't want to be quoted wrongly or give you the wrong information. But I think biohydrogen is very, very initial. I don't think there's much production or consumption in the nation. Bio-CNG and ethanol are growing, but I wouldn't know the exact quantity for you.
Okay, sir. So another point, like in industry, do we have any database, like you generate a lots of tons of data? So do you have any database for this developing performance indexes or maintaining a record like that as well? Not only yours, but other industries, in ethanol or biodiesel or any other? As well, any database that you maintain?
Database in terms of?
In terms of, for example, you are running this plant, what is your plant performance efficiency, how much material balance, energy balance, or these market performance, all these
yes,
kind of
do. We of course we have internal data to monitor the unit. Yes, that is generated.
And so in terms of for the environmental performance, like internal environmental audits must be done by all such plants like yours. So for that also?
Yes. There are regular checks by the state pollution board, and even all of our effluent treatment plants, the CPUs, and even our chimneys are now installed by automatic meters that give second-to-second monitoring to the pollution board. So they have a full oversight over the units.
Thank you, sir. So another question is again from Mr. Vara Prasad. He asked that, can you please explain how well you are implementing this CPCB framework in your industry? So I guess he's trying to ask how you are maintaining it.
See, we have to be fully compliant. As I already mentioned, there are regular checks, and we have meters, meters installed by Food Marshal that give, minute to minute, second to second data of our industry to the respective pollution board.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next question is, sir, this is the last question that we have. It is from Mr. Biswajit Sama. He asked that, can you share your viewpoints on the future policy making in Indian context to achieve the SDGs in the ethanol sector? I'm
not sure what you mean by SDG. Could you please clarify?
Yeah, that is the Sustainable Development Goals is put forth by the UN to go towards green economy, sustainable development initiatives, reducing water consumption.
I think ethanol has a very important role to play in India meeting their targets because the emissions generated from ethanol from a combustion engine are seven times less as opposed to a fossil fuel alternative. So I think that helps us achieve the targets greatly, and that's why the government has an increased focus on this sector.
And so, does there is a opinion that ethanol-based these engines, they usually wear out much faster than the petroleum or diesel-based ones. Is that really true, or what is the actual fact regarding that? If I increase
I have that same question. I don't know the answer, to be honest. I think an automotive expert would be able to answer that question better than myself. But I can say that ethanol is used as a fuel across the world. So I don't know why the theory is there, and I don't know if it's correct or wrong. So if you know the answer, if you ever speak to an automotive expert who knows the exact answer, then I'd like to hear that too.
Thank you, sir. Thank you a lot, sir. Thank you for joining us, giving your valuable time to present your opinion on this workshop. You are working just beside us in IIT Kharagpur, and we will love to host you at some time by personally coming here and interacting with our students and scholars and faculties. That will be a huge knowledge sharing session for us.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I think in my next visit to Kharagpur at our unit, I will definitely give you a call, and hopefully we can meet and discuss. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Audience, please wait for a couple of minutes. We will be starting soon in the next 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. 5 minutes.
Clearly show the message we have got and